Alright, this is going to be a map chat on Ensk. Starting off with light tanks. At the very beginning of the match, one of the best places you can go is about right here. Your objective here is going to be to light tanks as they cross right here. Your slower tanks that spawn north, as they try to cross, it'll take them a lot longer. So usually you can catch them really quick and have your tanks wreck them before they can get across. Um, you're also going to be spotting into this area. Sometimes you could be able to take shots as well, stuff that isn't really in a position to spot you or too far back that you're spotting, because you are really well camoed right here. But there does come a risk with this spot, and it's the fact that if a tank pushes down this side while tank's here and you get spotted, you're going to be pinched in between two tanks. So it is a little bit risky, but it can be high reward if played correctly. The other spot you can go to in a light tank would be in the field about this area. What you're trying to do is light everything that you can, the mediums that come into this area, the TDs that sit back here, or any mediums, pretty much anything you can. That pretty much covers all the light tanks areas that you can go. Moving on to TDs, sitting right here at the very beginning is a viable option as well. Anything that gets spotted right here will give you quick shots too. I wouldn't stay there long, just maybe 30 seconds at the very beginning, then move on to a different spot. You can also come here as well. More highly camo tanks like a 268, 263s, along those lines would be better suited for this spot, as you'll need a lot of camo to not get spotted by tanks right here and whatnot. But more than likely, once you fire, you will be spotted, so be aware of that. Don't make a mistake, fire at something you don't want to fire at and then have multiple tanks return fire on you. And it comes the same issue as if a tank pushes down here, you get spotted and you'll be pinched between multiple tanks. So it's a high risk, high reward spot. Played correctly, it can work out very well for you. Another spot you can go to would be this corner right here. Your main objective in this corner is going to be to shoot into this area. Um, Tanks that try to side scrape the building right here or come around this corner to shoot down this line or spot this line, you'll have free shots on them. So you'll keep these tanks just, stuck where they're at. They won't be able to do much in the battle. If they try to back up, you'll have even better shots on them. So that it'll pretty much be just stuck right here unless they, unless they want to take a shot. Another spot is behind this building on this corner. At the very beginning, usually a lot of tanks will come into this area. Either it's to get over here or it's to get it down to this area, or just to sit here and shoot down this way. Being in a TD, you'll be harder to spot, and you'll usually spot heavies before they spot you. So you'll get a first shot on tanks that come into this area and be able to do a free shot of damage at the very beginning. Then all you got to do is back out and reposition to where you want to be. Another option is to go up this line at the very start. So at the very start of the match, you'll run over here and wait for your mediums and your light tanks to get in position and slowly start to push up. As their mediums pull in, you'll be behind them, which will drag all the attention from these mediums and these lights onto you. Just make sure you don't come too far past. If you go, into this area, they'll be able to get behind you easier. As long as you stay in this alleyway, nothing can get behind you unless they go around this way. You do have to be aware if there's an arty in this area, it can hit you. Arties in this area and this area won't have good shots on you, and it's very unlikely that they'll hit you. So you should be pretty much arty safe in this area. But what that'll do is it'll drag attention from all these tanks into this area, which will help your mediums, your heavies, your lights, everything else to move up and take better control of this corner. Now, you definitely want to be in the heavily armored tank destroyer if you're going to do that. You don't want to be in a like a SU-122-44 or SU-122-54, something lightly armored like that, because it won't work out very well. Tanks will just, you could have multiple tanks shooting at you. So you want to be definitely like an Foch or an E3 or something like that that has a good amount of armor that you can stay alive for quite a while. Now, that's pretty much it on this map. Another option, it's not my favorite, but you can do it. About halfway through the battle, if you have a strong push onto this area right here, which means most of your heavies are fighting this area pretty fiercely, and that'll pull a lot of their tanks in. You can come around this corner and take shots at stuff that's not facing you. It's risky. You definitely want to make sure there's nothing in this area that can come behind you and shoot. And you definitely want to make sure you're not coming around the corner on, two tank destroyers or two heavies already facing you, because it won't work out for you very well. Now, once you do shoot something, what's going to happen is a lot of tanks are going to draw their attention towards you, which is going to loosen up the amount of tanks that are actually holding off your big tanks right here, um, making it easier for your team to push in and take control of this area, which usually once this area is taken control of, they'll usually win. Um, but pretty much in either one of these two spots, definitely want to be in a heavily armored TD, and your objective is to pull as much tension towards you to weaken their defense of a certain area. All right, so that's pretty much that on tank destroyers. Let's move on to mediums. Mediums are pretty standard on this map as well. I don't recommend any mediums go city. There's really not anywhere for you to go. You could sit in this spot right here and do just like the light tanks or whatever, what have you, spotting, whatnot. There's no light tanks and no tank destroyers in there. It's definitely viable to sit there. Just like TDs though, you'll be spotted really easy, so understand that. And you get the same weakness of something pushing down this way. You'll be double spotted. So it can be dangerous, but like I said, if played correctly, it can pay off very well. But the regular spots and the more common spots will be over in this area. Um, your Leo ones, your lightly armored tanks, better camo, mediums will be in this area. So they'll be in trees spotting what they can, while your 62As, your E50s, and stuff like that will sit behind these buildings and brawl what comes around. Your main objective is just to win the side and push it. That's all you want to do. Push it, get towards cap, make them pull some heavy tanks back so that it loosens the grip and your heavy tanks have an easier time pushing it, or completely circle behind them and take them out. All right, so let's move on to heavy tanks now. Um, heavy tanks pretty straightforward as well. A mouse could potentially use the same spot right here as a heavily armored TD could. It's definitely viable, and it's armored enough with enough HP to pull as much attention as possible. I would not do it with the Hundo. I would not do it with really any other heavy other than a mouse, just because it's much harder to pin the mouse, and you can angle the mouse enough to where it'd be very hard for them to pin you. Um, it's definitely viable. The majority, though, of heavies are either going to push up onto this line or push up around this corner. That's what you want to happen. You want this area pushed and you want this corner pushed. You don't really want to go out here in a heavy. Main reasoning being if they, have a couple TDs back here or a couple TDs back there, you're just going to get stuck on this line and RD's going to have shots on you. These TDs are going to have easy shots on you. You just don't want that to happen because also the tanks behind here can push behind you. So just stay out of this entire line. It's just not worth going down. But at the start, you'll just rush in, pick a line you want to go out. You want to go out here and guard this one and try to push. If I could zoom in, I would. For some reason, I can't. But you're just trying to push into here. That's all you're doing, is push in, take this area, and win. Same around this corner. You don't want to do it at the very beginning. You want to make sure that their attention is directed at the tanks that you have right here. Then when you push around, you get a couple free shots to the back of tanks, pull their attention away from it, and they'll be forced to deal with you. But that's pretty much it for heavies. We'll go ahead and swap to the other side and the same explanations for positioning from the other side. Alright, from the north side and a light tank, options are a little bit more varied as to what you can do. Coming across at the very beginning, again, getting into this area right here and spotting down is a good tactic as well because you'll usually get lights pretty quickly and you'll see what's moving where by spotting them from base and what's coming over here. Any tanks that try to come around this corner at the very beginning, you'll see as well. But you can't really stay there entire game. You could eventually move in down into this area, try to take shots on the sides of heavy tanks, but be aware, you've had the same weakness. Actually, it's a little bit worse from the north side. Something sees you right there and shoots at you. You're pretty much dead at that point. But it is an option, at least to spot is what I would do. I wouldn't really shoot from this position at these things, but I would definitely spot them just so that you have a good idea of what's there and what's not there. Then the other options would be to come behind this house, or any one of these houses really, or in these trees, and you're trying to spot as much as you can in this forest area. Or that sit back here in these areas, or mediums that are sitting back here, tank destroyers. Just light them all and let your team know where they're at. That's pretty much all you're doing. That's pretty much the best spots for light tanks in this map. TDs, sitting back here and getting ready to push up to this area to take care of these mediums. Once the brawl starts between your mediums and their mediums, is a viable option. Going up here as well. Just be aware you are a TD in the middle of a field. If you do get lit, which you more than likely will, if there are artillery, they will have shots on you. So try not to stay too long in the open. Keep moving. But if you are in a TD, just make sure you know what's around you. Make sure you know where the mediums are at. Try to get shots in quickly. Don't stay in one spot for too long, and get out of the spot if you do get spotted. But yeah, you're just trying to be in this area, right here, around this area, trying to take out the mediums by shooting down the lines as they're trying to brawl your medium. Other options include heavily armored TDs hiding behind this dirt pile right here. There's a hole in the wall and you can see down this line, so you'll be able to check that and make sure nothing comes around this corner. You won't have very many shots because once they do realize you're there and there's nothing they can do to you, they'll stop coming out this area. So at that point you want to move in and support your team in this area. Pushing in with your heavily armored TDs right there. Your lightly armored TDs, it's better to stay back a little bit, let the push start to happen, or reposition and take shots from this area down in there if they try to push around. There's not a ton of options for lightly armored TDs in that because most all of it is close quartered. So making sure you don't take hits when you come around a corner or peek in an area is very important to let your heavy tanks or your heavily armored TDs take hits. Then you follow up with a shot right afterwards. And that's pretty much it for TDs as well. Being mostly in this area and this area is pretty much where TDs are going to strive the best, do the best. So moving on to mediums. Same as before, I wouldn't put mediums into the town. Mediums should be in the field. Same as light tanks into this area, these buildings or in these trees would be your like your Leo or your bad chats and stuff like that. Going into the actual city itself would be like your E50s, 62As. Your main objective again is to push down to this area. So pretty self-explanatory. Heavies as well, same thing. You're going to push into the city right here. What you're trying to accomplish is push out and take out the tanks in this area. So side scraping these walls and your like E100s and stuff like that is definitely a better option. Be very careful about what hits you take because it is hard to spot tanks that are back here and whatnot. So just be aware of what's around you and you should do fine, but you're just trying to push this. Now you also have the same option once they are all pushed up to here that you can come around the spot. If there's nothing around here, you can push around to this corner or take side shots. Just make sure you back up once they start coming towards you. What that'll do is pull the tanks off these exits so your heavy tanks can get out easier to take better shots without taking as many shots in return. And that's probably your best option. But that pretty much covers it for Ensk. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it.